for questions and answers. So, RFIs and transmittals. We've built in the functionality so that you can track transmittals and RFIs in ProjectPAK. And then also, if you started them from the estimating process in ProjectPAK, once you get into Shopback, they're also available there so that you can continue on with them. The only thing you have to do to set it up to be able to use transmittals and RFIs is you do have to go up to the Define menu and go to Security. And then for each user, obviously, that's going to use it. On the Options tab here, for their log-on account, you do have to map them to a contact on your business record. So for your company's business record where you keep everybody's contact names, if for some reason you don't have their contact name there, you'll need to create it so that you can map it to it. Other than that, that's really the only setup that's involved as far as doing RFIs and transmittals. To create a transmittal or an RFI, you simply open the project on the Project tab, and down at the bottom, there's two new tabs down here, Transmittals and RFIs. We'll go ahead and start with Transmittals. If I click on the tab, you'll see for this particular estimate, I've already created one transmittal, but it's a simple grid. For those of you familiar with Shopback, up at the top you also have filters similar to some of the places you see them in Shopback, so that if you had enough transmittals and you only wanted to focus on certain ones, you could filter them by author, create date, type, reason, company, and contact. And once you clicked Run Filter and then chose your sort by, that's all that it's going to list on the grid. So pretty straightforward as far as a user interface. The grid itself, as most of the columns are fairly straightforward and self-explanatory. To create a new transmittal, you simply right-click the grid and choose New. Once the dialog pops up, it's just a matter of filling in the appropriate information. It's already linked to the company who the project is. If for some reason you needed to send a transmittal to a different company, it's for this project, but maybe not for the particular company it's linked to, maybe an architect or something, you could certainly either click Find them if they were in your system, or if you check User Enable, you can just type the name. And then you can pick a contact that you want to send it to. I'll pick Tom in this example, or if the contact wasn't on their list, if you check User Entered, you can just simply type it in. And then any other appropriate fields, maybe we were doing an order confirmation. If you had a revision number, you could fill it in if it was appropriate. Change the author. The signature field really is just so it puts your signature down at the bottom into a cursive font, so the idea is it looks like you signed it. You can put anybody that you want to copy it to in this field, and then check how you're sending it. So maybe I'm enclosing it via email. And then ultimately, the last two sections, you're just checking what you're sending and why. So maybe in this case, maybe we'll say it's a bid proposal, which it is, but it's an order confirmation. So check a couple things. And then below, maybe it's for your approval and as requested. The idea is you can check more than one thing, whichever would be appropriate for the particular transmittal. Second tab at the top is so that you can put on it what items you're sending, if there are any. So I can simply right-click and say New. Maybe I'll just type in, I'm sending an order confirmation document. If the spec or code was important, you could fill it in. You could date it, say how many copies you're sending if that was important. Similar to in Shopback, for those of you that are familiar, if you click Save, Start New Item, it simply saves the item and just starts another item in case you had more than one item you were putting on this particular transmittal. Or if it's only one, you can simply click OK, and that item's in there. The last tab is just a freeform notes field to put any remarks that you may need to on there. I'll put a little text in here. And for those of you that have played with 7.0 and have used it, just like every other place in ProjectPAK and Shopback, everything is spell checked, including this. The text fields that are like a big text edit, it's not just a field like this. It's similar to Word. If you type in a word that you misspell, it just underlines it, and you can right-click it, and it would give you a choice, whatever your choices may be. So once you're done filling in that, you can click OK, and now you've created a transmittal. And then from here, you could print it, or I'll just preview it so that you can see what the document looks like. I'll go ahead and zoom in just so it's really big on your end so you can kind of see it. You can put your logo on it, typical, has today's date, or whichever date you put on it, if you backdated it or forward dated it. Typical project information here at the top. And then below that is just showing what all you're sending. So sending you enclosed the following items. Here's the list of items in the middle. If I scroll down a little bit more, then it's the part where you checked what you were sending, the remarks, and then down here is your signature, and if you filled in the copy to information. For the most part, that's a transmittal. Like I say, after you create enough of them, you'll see your history here on the grid so that you can easily track your transmittals for a project to see when and what you sent. Goes along with that typically are RFIs. It's a very similar process. Go ahead and click the RFIs tab. And here, it's a similar process. You simply right-click, choose New. Brings up the dialog box, and now you fill in the appropriate information. So maybe I'm sending it to a different guy this time, John Smith. And I'm trying to think of a good description to put here, but maybe it's, let's see, finish samples. You're the author, unless you want to change it. You can track status on RFIs. You have pending, open, or closed. Maybe the reason for request is just request for information. Fill in the schedule and cost impact as none. You can fill in specifications and drawings if they're appropriate. Ultimately, you can fill in a date when it's required by, so maybe it's by this Friday. Across the top, you have your next tabs. Here's what I'm requesting. Probably unrealistic, but just thinking something in there, whatever your RFI would be for. The next tab, we allow you to write in a proposed outcome yourself if you want to top it in. And then lastly, ultimately, you can type in the response. Because the idea of that is that with an RFI, since it's based on a database here, that even if you fax, email, and they send you a response, you could type it in here so that everything's in the database and you can easily find something without having to go through a paper trail. So you can fill in the response here once you got it, and you can also fill in a receive date once you have that. Go ahead and change the status to open, click OK, and now I've just created an RFI. The filters here work similar than they did with Transmittal. You have a few more filters than you did with Transmittal, but the idea and the concept's the same, just so you can filter what shows up on the grid here. Lastly, a quick preview, and you can see our RFI document. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit, maybe not quite as much as last time. Hopefully it's big enough, but pretty straightforward. Once again, you can have your logo, shows the RFI number and the date. Similar project information at the top, only in bold is it required by date. Here's your description and reason, specification, drawing, cost impact, and schedule impact if they're appropriate. Here's your information requested, proposed if you fill it in, and then response. And then lastly at the bottom, once you filled it in, it's responded by a date too, will be filled in. So for the most part, that's RFIs and transmittals. Just like I just said, if you had started these inside ProjectPAK, once you pass it on from an estimator to a project manager, if that's your typical process, inside Shopback, if we open the same job, you can see now on the jobs, when you're at the job node down at the bottom, we also have Transmittals and RFIs tabs here. And so you'd see the same thing as what you saw inside ProjectPAK. So now, as you can see, here's the same ones that we just created, as well as the existing ones. So now you could just continue on in here on Shopback. And it doesn't make a difference whether you create them in ProjectPAK or Shopback. You'll see them in the other. So for the most part, that's Transmittals and RFIs. So the rest of the session we'll just open up for question and answer.
Hey, Dave. Did they work out the logo on the Shopback side yet? Because that was hard-coded to your guys' logo in the document.
As far as documents go, they are set up.
In ProjectPAK it works. Shopback, it's hard-coded to your TradeSoft logo.
So in Shopback, it's still hard-coded?
Yes.
Okay. That will be fixed then. I wasn't aware that inside Shopback it didn't work the same as ProjectPAK. So
yeah, I went over that with Michelle. So, but yeah, it's hard-coded.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make sure that that gets put in our next revision so that you can change it just the same as you could in ProjectPAK.
Hey, Dave. What would be the possibility of being able to put a little tab in there to send that via email? Just a link to something. I've requested that like on purchase orders as well in Shopback, that you just shoot it as a PDF or something.
Sure. I don't know that it would be. So in other words, just from here to be able to send it straight. I mean, obviously you can print it as a PDF and then email it, but to be able to email directly from ProjectPAK or Shopback.
Yeah, or at least a link that would open the contact up wherever you have the email. I know it was a little bit. We've done that with purchase orders. Just print it to a PDF, and but all your most of the contact information is in the database, in ProjectPAK database, and it'd be just really handy to shoot that over.
Yeah, I'll definitely write that down for a future enhancement. Makes sense.
That'd be great to do it for quotes too.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, all of that would make sense in most places where you print a document, since email is so prevalent these days. Yeah, I'll definitely write that down for everything.
You know, it's kind of funny while while you're also talking about quotes on the bid list. And I don't know if anybody else does this, but we have contractors that are preferred contractors, and there's kind of a cool little feature on each GC or on the bid list where we could assign a margin percentage to each contractor, and I suggested Russ one time to, instead of making that a set margin, because you know that margin, that's a target, a moving target, but a multiplier, somewhat similar to what I would look at with the labor adjustment. Like if I have a contractor that we do a lot of business for, maybe he gets a 2% discount better than somebody that I really am going to give a number to because I know they're going to give my number to somebody else.
Right.
In other words, where you have the set margin in there, change that to it'd be like a multiplier, and XYZ gets a 1.1% price over my estimate, and somebody else gets a 0.98%.
Gotcha.
And again, if it's emailable, we're able to send quite a few of our quotes out by email. If that's emailable.
Okay.
And actually for us, we're on voice over IP, so if I had it where I could send it, any contact information where it at least could pop up or link to my I know in Outlook, if I'm going to start a call, I can go right to Outlook and then start a call from my Outlook. That may be a little bit far-fetched for most, but it's just a handy way for me to be able to stay in one application and do everything I need to do.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
I like the fact that we can track transmittals and RFIs. There are some things. There's another thing that I'd like to see, but that's something else. But that would be like the daily reports that we have to submit for every job. And again, it's just a way to. For me, it'd be a way to be able to keep all of my information in one location. And I suppose I could set up a transmittal, but it'd be more like a template. If I had a template for my daily reports, which I do.
Okay. What do you have to send on your daily report?
Basically, what we did out in the field, how many guys we had out there, what work we did, where we were held up, who was holding us up, those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
which is obviously more Shopback than not ProjectPAK, but I do like having this information down there.
Yeah, hopefully it'll make it handy just to be able to track RFIs and transmittals from the get-go, from a job all the way through to the finish, so that at least you have something other than digging through a paper trail or even digging through emails.
Hey, Dave, I agree with that suggestion, because right now we use the notes, and at some point it stops remembering them. So if there's a better way to do that, then I'm open to it.
As far as using the notes, at some point it stops remembering them.
Yeah, there's a limit. You know, eventually after so many lines, it quits, you know, remembering them.
Yeah, I think on notes you have up to 8,000 characters or something in that realm. So if you're using notes for that, obviously the only thing you can do is just start a new note. So yeah, 8,000 characters I believe is the limit on notes.
Hey Dave, the other thing I also noticed is it didn't have any return contact info on the transmittal or RFI. So if you're sending that out, there's no return contact info. So if someone gets it, they actually know who to send it back to.
Said on the return contact. Oh, I got you, because it just has the attention. If your logo had it, it would have it in there. You're saying on the document it would be nice if it had somebody's return information?
Yeah, because, you know, we've got multiple project managers here, so, you know, they all have different emails, all that kind of stuff. You know, we have to pick a contact info to be able to use the RFIs for who's using it. It'd be nice if that contact info would populate on the report, too. So they'd have, you know, the email address and phone number or extension and that kind of stuff to get back to the person who sent this to them.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense now. And just pull it from the contact record, so as long as, you know, whoever the contact is here, even if it's from your company, it'll have all their information here accordingly. So just pull it from the information you have here on their contact. That makes sense.
That's exactly what would be great for those.
Okay. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. But phone, fax, email. All right. Is there any other questions that you have?
Dave, is it possible to, as far as getting back to the logo thing, the other gentleman mentioned that Shopback's hard-coded, but in ProjectPAK, my logo in there, that there's a gray line that kind of cuts across the bottom of it, and unlike the document, as far as quotes and those documents, there's no way to adjust the size of my logo to prevent that.
Right, it's a fixed size on the particular document just because of the way it's laid out. So it won't get any bigger or smaller than what you see there.
But it's being cut in half, or a portion of it's being cut off. Is that just reduce the size of the JPEG? Is that where you?
So you're saying your logo itself, a portion of it is cut off?
Well, the gray line's going across. I don't want to troubleshoot. I'm just saying. Didn't know if that could be a feature as well, adjusting the size.
Yeah. Can you do me a favor, even though it's troubleshooting, but it'll help me out? Can you email me
Sure.
the logo picture so I can try it on my end and I'll know exactly what you mean, so that we can try
No
to adjust for that?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, our logo extends down past the gray line as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely look into that and get that logo part fixed. Is there any other questions on RFIs or transmittals for today?
Hey, Dave, I know like in some of the other areas, the other documents and stuff, you can go into the document options and specify the height for that logo and stuff like that. Probably something similar to that would be great.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my mind too. All right. Any last questions?
No, other than this looks good, it's something that we'll definitely use.
Good. Good. All right. Didn't figure it would take an hour today because it's just transmittals and RFI. So if there's no further questions, I've written down most of enhancement requests or any errors that we've gotten. We'll stay on top of it and see if we can at least get this first go-around to function just like it should all the time. And I appreciate you guys coming into the session. If you have any future questions about RFIs and transmittals, feel free to contact support.